Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet. This podcast focuses on the intersection of sales, leadership, and personal development. So let's get ready to crush it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and Happy New Year! If you're like me, you're probably really excited that it's a new year. You're cautiously optimistic, but looking on the bright side, and that's how I'm going to sum it up. So I do hope everyone had a fabulous holiday season and made the best of it. So thank you. I wanted to talk to you today about the importance of taking ownership of your actions and your behaviors and your words and saying, I'm sorry. I have always been the person that says, I'm sorry. And I actually did a podcast on this way back when on the Good Karma Success Coach. And I received some feedback that I shouldn't always have to feel like I should say, I'm sorry if it really isn't my fault. And I took that to heart, and I've actually given things a little more thought. Like, if it isn't my fault, and if it isn't on behalf of a company I represent or a client I represent, then I might choose to use a little different wording. But honestly, when I say I'm sorry, it just takes the energy out of the challenge or the issue. And it also takes the energy out for the other person as well. Because if you think about it, if you say you're sorry and you just try to move on, what's the other person going to do? Unless they're a complete sociopath, they're going to let it go as well and often send you grace and forgiveness unless you can continue to screw it up, right? So saying I'm sorry and taking the ownership to fix things just can make your life a little easier and also help the other person to just move forward themselves. And they'll also see you in a really positive light. They'll see you in a mature light, as a mature adult that takes responsibility for their actions and their behaviors and their words. How I started thinking about this, because I really haven't thought about it in quite a while, probably since that podcast, so it had to be over a year ago. I'll have to look and see what episode that was and put it in the show notes, is I had a situation with someone I work with, and this person just won't apologize. And the situation's been going on for weeks. And it's their fault from the beginning that there's an error. It's also their fault that they didn't check it when I called it out that, hey, I think there's an error. I have extremely good intuition. If you don't know out there, I have extremely good intuition, so I can smell a rat. And I was like, oh, there's a problem here. I can feel it. And the person still didn't check it, so didn't apologize for that. And then the person gave me the paperwork to check, like I'm the checker. And I'm like, no, it's really on you to check the paperwork, not on me, because it wasn't my error. And there was an error. For sure there was an error. And still no ownership, no I'm sorry, no hustling to figure it out. Actually, it just created more follow-up and has actually become quite the incident, and hence why I'm podcasting about it. The other person involved actually has stepped up to the plate and apologized and really tried her best to follow up and get to the bottom of it, even though it's not her fault at all. See where I'm going? So the person whose fault it isn't taking responsibility, and then the person who it's not her fault is taking responsibility. So it's quite interesting. And what you need to think about from a business aspect is, let's say I'm the client. What is my opinion now of that business? Because the person that's representing the business is the person that made the mistake, but hasn't taken any ownership and hasn't apologized. And that reflects on the business. That reflects on my opinion of the business. Now, I know better, and I know it's not the total business. I know it happens to be this one person, but most people don't. And most people then are keyboard warriors and go online and are very quick to leave a poor review, right? And no one wants these poor reviews. Those live out there forever. TripAdvisor, you might have a case to stand on if you already have like 100 good reviews. But for the most part, Google definitely will not rescind a review. So those are things to consider. But if she just would have apologized and hustled to try to fix the correction and checked her own paperwork, we wouldn't be having this podcast. She wouldn't have just given me a chapter for a book, and I wouldn't have energy around the situation. I try my hardest, and I know I've talked a lot about energy in my past podcasts, to have positive or neutral energy. So above and beyond this actual situation that actually does also include money that's due to me, it's more about the energy. It's more about the fact that like I'm thinking about this and I don't want to be thinking about this. I want to be thinking about other things. I have a book that I'm almost finished writing. I have other projects to do. I have a lot of other things to do in regards to marketing. So I don't want to be thinking about this. I don't want to be thinking about it. I don't want to be checking my email. I don't want to be checking my bank account. And that is what becomes even more of the touch point that if you're a business owner or a sales rep, could lead to that bad review, can lead to that bad client relationship, and also bad referrals. I was just talking to a friend of mine. We were coworkers as buyers at Shop NBC way back when, and we've been friends on Facebook. And she reached out to me about something, and we ended up chatting on the phone over the weekend, which was fantastic to catch up with her. And I was telling her about, just in general, a sales group that I was working with for 8 years. And I didn't say anything negative, nothing. And she said, "Oh my God, they have such a terrible reputation. They burn through people. I've heard so many bad things about that rep agency." And I just laughed because she was right. But number one, but number two, it just amazes me how word can get around about your business. And that's what you have to be able to recognize and manage. So if you're dealing with a situation and you just need to apologize so you can wipe the slate clean and move on, do it. Get rid of that energy. It'll make you feel so much better, and it will also help your relationship with whether it's a coworker, a client, a business, if you're a rep, the company you represent, whatever. It just makes it so much easier to move past to the next situation, or just focusing on your business and just getting rid of it. Let's get rid of all bad energy. If we can do one thing in 2020 that would just make your life so much easier, it's just getting rid of bad energy, bad juju, people that are very toxic, people that have passive aggressive behavior, people that are poor little me. Because you know what? When I ended up hearing some stories about what's going on with this person, I honestly didn't have any empathy towards her, because this has been such a pattern and so many red flags that I just was like, oh, I'm not feeling it. Of course, I have compassion for people, which then made me recognize, gosh, there must be something bigger here that I'm not feeling it. And obviously, the bigger piece is this has just been going on for weeks and shouldn't be going on. But number two, I kind of go, does she just have some bad karma? And this is all just wrapped into that. And for that, as a final note, you just have to let it go. So my final advice, if you're the person on the receiving end, like me, just have to let it go. I can't change this person. I can't make her do her job better. I can't make her apologize. She's not getting the hint for whatever reason. And that's fine. I just want it fixed. But in the meantime, you just have to let it go. And just know that people are people, and people are at different stages in their life, in their soul journey on this earth. And it's just not going to happen. So you just have to let it go. And I wanted to share this in this podcast because I strongly believe that everyone goes through situations like this. Everyone has various situations that may be small and then they grow to be bigger, or maybe just like nails on a chalkboard. Maybe something just really bugs you about somebody. But not that many people have the confidence to talk about it. So I really want this podcast, and it might morph into more confident conversations where my guests or myself share these kind of uncomfortable situations, ones where people might judge you and have something to say, but that's okay because there's always two sides to a story, right? And I'm open to hearing those. But I do believe there's a lot of struggle out there where people are not talking about some of these situations and it's eating at them and they feel that they are alone, but you're not alone because we all go through these. And my husband and I, as small business owners, we go through these things every day. We always have some type of story with some client or the weather or something breaking that is going on in our world. So I hope that you like this podcast. I hope you resonate with it. If it helps you, I appreciate that you share it with somebody else that it could help as well. Because if we could all help one person today, imagine what that would do. So as I mentioned, I'm working on my book. It is called Confidence Mastery for Couples, a roadmap to a more intimate relationship. And I am super excited. I have a launch date of March 9th. So check out goodkarmasuccesscoach.com. If you sign up for my Monday Mojo inspiration, you'll be on the newsletter for that podcast, for that book, sorry. And I will also probably have a call to action page very soon for the book once I get the cover, which will hopefully be in a couple weeks. So I'm super excited. I would love to hear your journeys, what you're going on with, what you're struggling with. If you wish to see anything or hear anything from my content, I'm always open to feedback. I would love to hear from you. You can follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. And my Instagram is Melinda_Van Fleet. Again, my other podcast is Good Karma Success Coach. And until next time, I hope you crush it in sales. Thanks for listening.